Hey, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Aubrey, and today we're going to talk about baby's first food. So when first introducing your baby to solids, it can be incredibly overwhelming. You've got the traditional baby rice cereal and baby jar foods. Then you've got the homemade baby food kind of people. You got the baby-led weaning. It's just a lot of when should I do this and how should I do this and then what should I even give them? So that is what we are going to talk about today, and hopefully I can answer some of those questions for you guys. So I am not a doctor. I am not an expert. What I am is a mama to 7 kids. So all I can share is my personal experience. And honestly, I have almost done it all. So when we first had our first child, I just went kind of the traditional route of the baby rice cereal, the baby oatmeal, and the little baby food jars of vegetables and meat. I will say though, I had a really hard time giving my son the meat because it looked nasty and it smelled nasty, and I just felt like it couldn't possibly be good. So that just meat in a can seemed strange to me. So we kind of struggled through giving him food, and then once our second daughter came along, then that's when I had learned a bit more about nutrition, and then I started making homemade baby food. So that way I at least knew what I was feeding her I would actually eat. It wasn't repulsive, other than the fact that it was pureed, and I don't want a smoothie with meat in it, but so then after that we had our third child, and with her I kept trying to give her purees at 6 months, and she just kept spitting it out. And with 2 older siblings roaming about, one day she got her hands on half of a banana, and she just started going for it, and it hit me what? I don't have to puree food for you. You can just eat finger food, because she didn't even have teeth yet, but her gums were soft enough to mash the bananas. So I really, like I said, I've done the regular baby food that you buy at the grocery store, I've done the homemade, and I've done the baby-led weaning. And on top of that, I've also learned a lot. There's a book called Nourishing Traditions, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today, because I don't believe any finger food should be a first food, but we're going to kind of talk about what can a baby digest, how should you give it to them, and at what age. All right, so how about the when? All right, that's the first big question, is when should I feed my baby their first solids? And for many years, it was 4 to 6 months is what was recommended. But in the last several years, since my first son has been born, somewhere in the last 10 years, many pediatricians have started recommending the 6 months. And even the CDC said that babies who have been introduced solids too early are missing out on important nutrients, because your breast milk is really uniquely designed for your baby. Now, around 6 months is when they start getting depleted in iron. Babies have a lot of iron, especially if you wait a little while to clip the cord after birth, because all of that great blood is getting into their system from your placenta. So it's not until that 6 month mark that most babies start getting a little low in iron. So you are going to need to introduce something else. And we'll get to the what here in a minute, but the when is so important. There was a study put out, and I will put that link down below. But it was talking about the timing of introducing complementary foods, because obviously even when you introduce them to solids, that's not their main food. They're still getting their main nutrition from either breast milk or formula. So, but in this research, it found that 16% of babies were fed finger foods or their first foods before or around 4 months, and 38% are given first foods between 4 and 5 months. And some of the reasons, 90% of the reason, was that they thought they were old enough. That's what they were told. And then another really likely reason is that they felt like their baby was getting hungrier. And as an exclusively breastfeeding mom, Sometimes my kids do definitely go through growth spurts between 4 and 6 months, but that just means I just feed them more breast milk. So I just keep feeding them what I know their body can handle, and I hold off on the actual foods or purees or finger foods until they are 6 months old. But you may ask, why, Aubrey? Why do you wait? Why does it really matter? Well, babies are born with a very immature digestive system. They can really not handle a lot. They don't have in their digestive system what they need to fully process other foods. Their GI tract is still maturing, and they can only really handle that breast milk or that formula. That's all they can handle. They don't have the right enzymes to even break down food properly. So other foods can permanently, you guys, it can permanently alter their gut microbiota, and it can cause issues. It can cause them to have upset stomach. They can have other digestive issues, and to me, it's just not worth the risk. I would rather just keep giving them breast milk, feed them a little more often, and wait till that 6 month mark. All right, so now when 6 months, we got it. Okay, understand. Okay, now how do you go about do this? Do you just go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of baby jars? Do you want to make it yourself at home? Or do you want to try this whole baby-led weaning thing? That is the next big question. And my answer is, I actually do all 3 of those combined. So I'm going to be showing you guys some clips of Micah, which is our youngest son, eating, and I really use all of those methods. I do not use baby grains, and we'll talk about that again with the what, but the how is it can be a mixture of all those things, whatever fits your family. If you're really busy and on the go, you may need to pick up some baby food jars, and I'm gonna show you how to make those even more nutritional for your babies. But sometimes life is just life, and it's crazy and it's busy, and maybe you don't have time to make homemade purees, or maybe you're feeling a little nervous about like giving your baby whole foods like baby-led weaning, and that can be challenging. There are some really easy foods to start with baby-led weaning, and then there's some that can be more of like a mind, like how do I make this crunchy apple something that my child can have. So I really do a mixture of everything, and so there should not be any stress here. Okay, the how is up to you, your family, and your choices. All right, and finally the what, which I feel like is one of the ones that I'm most passionate about, just because if you follow me here on YouTube very often, you know that I am super into health and nutrition. Do I do it perfectly? Definitely not. But I do the best to my ability for my family, for our life situation, with our budget, and I work with what we have to give my family the best. So having said all that, I do not give my babies grains, and the reason is because they do not contain the correct digestive enzyme, and I believe it's amylase. They do not have amylase. They can't make amylase yet, so therefore they cannot digest grains. And so I just skip the whole like baby rice cereal, baby oatmeal. Actually don't give my babies any grains until 1 year, not until they're 1 year old. So if I don't give my baby grains, what in the world do I feed them? Because that is like one of the main things you'll find at the grocery store. So for the last 5 babies, they've all had the same first foods, and in order they are avocado, banana. Those 2 are the easiest, most simple things to give your baby. If you're wanting to give your 6-month-old food and you're a little nervous or a little hesitant, those 2 things are perfect. So the avocado, it actually has these wonderful, awesome, like naturally healthy fats that's so good for your developing baby, and it comes packaged and it's already soft. You don't have to steam it, you don't have to saute it, you don't have to do anything. And there are several ways you can do this. You can mash it up with a fork and spoon feed it to your baby, or you can do the baby-led weaning style, and you're gonna kind of cut it in 4s. And with that, you're gonna cut little slivers, but you're gonna leave the skin on there. And the reason is because avocado is incredibly slippery, especially in a little infant's slimy grimy fingers. So the skin gives them kind of something to hold on to. And y'all will be able to see Micah, you know, it's so cute as they're trying to figure it out. And don't be alarmed if your baby makes faces. They are gonna make some crazy faces. That don't just say like, oh, my baby doesn't like avocado, I'm not gonna give him avocado anymore. Keep introducing that food over and over again. They have not had anything for 6 months. Their entire life, they have only tasted breast milk or formula. So obviously when you introduce a new food, they're just gonna make a face out of curiosity, like, what is this and what's going on inside of my mouth? I have no idea what's happening here. And I know that there are some of you out there that are formula feeding, and that is 100% great and okay. You know, obviously you want your baby to be fed, but for those of you who have exclusively breastfed, there is one like small little perk to the breastfeeding, is that because your milk is made up of what you eat, breastfed babies are a little more used to a slight change in taste, because your milk is not exactly the same every single time they eat it. It sometimes has a slightly higher fat content, or sometimes it's a little bit sweeter or a little bit more bitter depending on what you ate. So sometimes breastfed babies will be more open to new flavors than bottle-fed babies, but either way, just keep giving them these new foods even when they make faces. Don't answer the question for them. Does your baby like it? Just keep giving it to them. And I believe that their taste buds really start to like what you give them. We are training their taste buds what to eat, what to think is good. So obviously if you give them a spoonful of sugar, then they're gonna just want sugar. But if you are giving them these healthy foods, then their taste buds are going to start saying, hey, this is food and I like food. All right, so that second one was banana, and banana actually contains the enzyme amylase. So that is why it's like a complete food that they can just eat and fully process. Their body shouldn't have any issues with it. Now, again, you can mash this up really easily and spoon feed it to your baby, or if you want to do the baby-led weaning style, what you're gonna do is cut a chunk maybe 2 inches or so off, or just break it. I don't even cut it. Who am I kidding? But after that, a banana is really cool because it naturally splits into 3 little strips. And so you can see here that I just kind of put my finger and kind of wedge it apart. And then with 1 banana chunk, you are making 3 little banana strips. Now, I'm going to warn you, it is super messy and sticky because they can grasp it, but it does get really mushy and really slimy after the baby has slobbered all over it. So usually like Micah's chair, his tray is all slimy, and his arms, and if he drops it on his legs, are all slimy, but he has a blast. He really enjoys eating banana. There's obviously some great high chairs out there that are really easy to clean for messy eaters. Okay, so the third food I usually give my babies is egg yolk, runny egg yolk. There are a lot of nutrients that your baby is gonna start needing to develop certain things. Their bones are growing at a rapid pace, their brain is developing at a rapid pace, and it's really important that they are getting the nutrients they need during this time where so much is changing so fast. Egg yolk is really good. The egg white is what actually most people, if you're gonna be allergic to eggs, it's usually the white part of it that you're allergic to. It's the protein in the egg, whereas the egg yolk is much safer as a first food, and it's runny and it's really easy. So what I will do is either like soft boil an egg and use the inside, or I'll just lightly like pan fry an egg and then kind of break open the little bubble and feed it to them. You can use a spoon. You can even, if you're fine with your baby gnawing on your finger, you can kind of dip your finger in it and put it in their mouth for them to taste it that way. And Micah right now, honestly, this is one of the foods that I've introduced many times, and he still kind of makes a face with it. I think it might be the thickness of the consistency. So you can still mix it with other foods. You could mix it in with a little bit of avocado or banana, or you could add some breast milk to it to make it like even runnier, or kind of change the consistency a little bit. Play around with it. Don't be afraid to change it up. But egg yolk just has some excellent, a great nutritional profile. It's a really great first food. The fourth thing, this one's gonna be crazy, but it's not really crazy, but it might seem crazy. The fourth thing is actually liver. What liver? Beef liver, to be precise. I'm sure you could use chicken liver. I just have beef liver at home, but liver is actually really incredibly healthy for all people, and I am working more on incorporating it into all of our family's diet. Not just like, here's a slab of liver, but you know, like you can mix it in with ground beef and you can do a lot of creative things. But for a baby, you can just cook it on a skillet real quick in some butter, because again, the butter is actually a really great healthy fat for your baby if it's grass-fed butter. And cook it in a little bit of butter, and then I pureed it with homemade chicken broth, and I threw in some sweet potatoes. Now here is one of those cheats. I used store-bought, a little jar of sweet potato, because I'm already cooking a liver and I had already made chicken broth. I have 7 kids and I can't do all the things, and so one of my substitutes was I just went ahead and used baby food, like a jar of sweet potato. I just blend those all up and then I put it back into like some baby food jars. And so Micah, he doesn't know any different. I feed him liver for breakfast and he loves it. And actually Aaliyah ended up wanting it too. Like all my kids are really interested in the baby food and they think it's so fun that we're feeding Micah, and so they're always wanting to try everything that I make, and so they actually like the beef liver and sweet potatoes. Who would have known? And so that is a really, really great first food as well, the beef liver. So we've got avocado, we've got banana, egg yolk, and liver as 4 of the first foods. Now the 5th one is the easiest because it is just softened vegetables of any kind. And I don't do this separately. You can. With Amaya and Josiah, I had a steamer, which was excellent, and you can steam a bunch of vegetables and make it really easy for your baby to eat without even mushing it up. But what I do right now is, like, if I'm making a soup and it has carrots and sweet potatoes, I can very easily just pull out some of those softened carrots and sweet potatoes and give that to Micah. And again, it's really good for them. One of the benefits of the baby-led weaning instead of just purees is that it's really, really good, like hand-eye coordination and fine motor skills for them to learn how to actually pick up those foods, and it keeps them entertained, because with 7 babies it's almost essential that I not have to sit there 3 times a day for however long, baby, like spooning food into his mouth. So sometimes we do use the baby food jars, like I mentioned, if we're going on a picnic or we're gonna go on a car ride, or you know, so I'll usually keep some baby food jars in my purse just in case. I don't know where we're gonna be, I don't know what we're gonna be eating. Maybe we're eating pizza and there's nothing on the pizza I can just simply give him for baby-led weaning. Then I will take some purees, but really you can just start picking out foods that are in the overall food that you're making. So picking out some of those softened vegetables. They can eat broccoli, they can eat carrots, they can eat sweet potatoes. There's a lot. I will give him even like zucchini, but I just kind of cut off the skin and I'll give him the squishy insides where the seeds are. So there's a lot of options here, and that's just giving them a lot of textures and a lot of flavors. And I think introducing those things early is really, really beneficial, because the older they get, if they've never had a vegetable or like a strawberry in their life and then you give it to them at 3.5, they're going to be like, what is this and why are you trying to give me something new? But if you start very young and you just start giving them all of these new foods, then they're not going to know any different. So again, you are training them. You're the parent and you're in charge, and you're training them what to eat, what is food, what is good. And if you're eating it and you're enjoying it and you're serving it to them, eventually they're going to pick up on that and they're going to say, all right, I'm going to eat this too. I love what my midwife says. She always says that food before 1 is just for fun. Now, I do believe they are getting some really important benefits from the food, but at the same time, I think sometimes we stress out so much about what they're eating or how much they're eating that it can kind of it can make like mealtime filled with anxiety and stress. And I think that saying just eliminates that. If you should still be breastfeeding and or doing formula for sure up until 1 year. And so they're still getting a lot of nutrients from that. And then you're adding in, again, I mentioned it earlier, it's a supplemental food. These are to supplement what maybe they're not getting anymore, like the iron, and there's something called choline and like all these different nutrients. Feeling blessed and never stressed. Don't stress out, guys. Don't stress out about feeding your baby. All right, so I hope that was really helpful today. when do we feed our babies food, and how, and what should we feed them? I love this topic. If you have any further questions, definitely ask me down below. I may not know, but I might have left something out as well that we have experienced or that we have gone through. So if you want more videos like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If we're all about things healthy lifestyle, faith, and just family in general. So y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.